Here are some guidelines to help ensure this meeting will proceed smoothly. Please, everyone other than the speaker, person speaking should put their microphones on mute. WebEx has a written chat function. Please only use that function to address technical difficulties like that you can't hear. We will communicate with each other as council members through speaking. Please direct all discussions and requests to speak through the chair, through me. When you want to make a comment, ask a question, or participate in a discussion, please click on the hand icon next to your name on the upper right-hand corner of WebEx. If you're able to see each other, you could raise your hand. If neither of those work, then please ask for recognition in a way that allows me to identify you. Because conversation among several people by electronic means can be cumbersome, we should please limit our discussion to the business items and issues directly related to business items. Please refrain from talking over other speakers. When you participate in discussion, please speak directly into the receiver or microphone so that I and other committee members and the public who may be monitoring can hear all discussion. When you make a motion or second, please state your name so I know the motion has been made and seconded, and the recording secretary can record this information for the minutes. Because we're conducting the meeting electronically, all votes must be taken by roll call. I or other committee members and the public who may be monitoring must be able to hear your vote. If you do not vote on a particular business item during a roll call, please clearly state that you are abstaining from the vote. During the course of this meeting, if you leave the location from which you're participating, please inform me of your absence at that time so we can ensure a quorum continues to exist during the meeting. And are there any questions about those instructions? Any questions? Great, thank you for the head shakes. Seeing none, we will take a roll call to ensure that we have a quorum. And so, Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Yes, I will. Atlas Ingebrigtsen. Chambliss.
Here.
That was Atlas Ingebrigtsen that's here,
Okay.
Michelle.
Okay. Chambliss.
Here.
Cumming.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Lilligren.
Here.
Lindstrom.
Here.
Muse. Vento.
Here.
Wolf. Wolf.
Here. Here.
Thank you.
How many was that, Michelle?
That is, excuse me, that is 9.
Great, so we do have a quorum. Great attendance. I will note that I believe Councilmember Muse was inadvertently left off the invitation. He was invited at least a few hours ago, so he may not have had enough advance notice of this meeting. So my apologies to Councilmember Muse. Now I'm rapidly moving my screens around to get to the agenda. Council members, you should have agenda before you. The latest agenda is one that's posted at the Met Council website. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved. Vento.
Secondly.
Second. Oh, yep.
Right, we have a motion and a second. Thank you. Any discussion on that motion, changes or corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, Michelle, please call the roll.
Yes. Atlas Ingebrigtsen.
Aye.
Chambliss.
Aye.
Cumming.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Lilligren.
Aye.
Lindstrom.
Aye.
Vento.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
That is unanimous. That item is adopted. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the March 16, 2020 regular meeting of the Community Development Committee. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. This is Atlas Ingebretson.
Is there a second?
Lindstrom.
Thank you, Councilmember Lindstrom. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, additions, corrections? Seeing none. Michelle, please call the roll.
Yes. Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
That is unanimous. The minutes are approved. That is adopted. We'll move on to our business items. The first is 2020-86. It's a joint committees item. It's a 2040 comprehensive plan and comprehensive sewer plan for the city of Wayzata. And Jake Riley, Mr. Jake, are you on this call? You will present, please.
Yes, Chair Lilligren, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thanks, Jake.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chair Lilligren, members of the committee. Today you have I'm Jake Riley, Sector Representative for District 3 in the Local Planning Assistance Group in the Community Development Division. Today you have before you the City of Wayzata's comprehensive plan. Unfortunately, folks from the City of Wayzata were not able to join us today, but I'd like to thank them very much for their help. They had a staff change in the middle of everything as well, so they did a great job. All right. So you have in front of you the regional system for the City of Wayzata, which includes, this is figure 1 of the staff report, and it includes the Dakota Rail Regional Trail that traverses the city, the Loose Line State Trail, that's the bright green one across the northern portion of the city going through Orono and Plymouth. There are 5 meters, 1 lift station, an MCES interceptor, and of perhaps most interest, there's a regional trail search corridor, 2 of them, the North-South 1 and Dakota Rail Extension Trails. The major highway that goes through the city of Wayzata is US Highway 12. So that's the regional system for the city of Wayzata. The community designation for the city of Wayzata is identified as suburban community designation. That's figure 2 of the staff report, they are located in central Hennepin County, surrounded by the communities of Plymouth, Minnetonka, Woodland, Deep Haven, and Orono. Wayzata's forecasted growth is shown on table 1, also in your staff report, which shows that between 2020 and 2040, the city will grow by approximately 280 people, representing 210 households. There will be an increase of 410 jobs in the city in the same time frame. The planned residential density for the city of Wayzata is shown on table 2, also in the staff report. Overall density for guided residential land is expected to be between 5.58 and 14.1 units per acre. Communities with a suburban designation under Thrive are expected to plan for forecasted population and household growth at overall average minimum densities of 5 units per acre for new development and redevelopment. And Wayzata's plan is consistent with this policy. The existing land use for the city of Wayzata is shown on this map and on figure 3 in the staff report. Is a combination of residential and commercial uses of various intensities with public and open space uses to support the needs of the community. Residential land uses comprise a majority of the city, equating to nearly 70% of all land uses, as shown in table 3.1 in the staff report. Most of the existing commercial office space are adjacent to Lake Minnetonka, and approximately 2% of the city is parks and open space. And you see as we move into the future land use, that Wayzata has a lot of exciting things going on right now for work which continues despite the quarantine. So the future land use map refers to figure 4 in the staff report. And the pattern of future development in Wayzata is expected to happen primarily through redevelopment, including on vacant and underutilized parcels. Of note is the area now known as Panaway on Wayzata Bay, which you may have heard of in previous iterations as the Wayzata Lake Effect project. And the envisioning process went over a number of years through the Lake Effect Initiative, which will restore and protect and enhance Wayzata's downtown lakefront. It's funded by a public-private partnership between the City of Wayzata, the Three Rivers Park District, one of our implementing agencies, the State of Minnesota, and the Wayzata Conservancy. Panaway has 2 distinct phases of development. Phase 1 construction began last month in March, is expected to conclude later this summer. I can't speak to whether issues will that will continue, but I do know that they did get underway. They'll be reconstructing Lake Street from Barry Avenue to Broadway Avenue, and they envision a pedestrian-friendly and bike-friendly area with multi-use plaza park near the lakefront. So the proposed findings before you today are that the plan conforms to the Metropolitan System plans, is consistent with council policies with the proposed forecast changes, and compatible with the plans of adjacent local governmental units and affected jurisdictions. The meeting for the Environment Committee, which is, we'll hear this item next, is next Tuesday, and the Metropolitan Council meeting will follow that on the subsequent Wednesday, April 22nd. The proposed action then is to authorize the City of Wayzata to place its 2040 comprehensive plan into effect, revise the city's population, households, and employment forecast upward as shown in Table 1, and revise the city's affordable housing need allocation for 2021 to 2030 to 42 units. That's based on their revised forecast. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and I hope that that went okay.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Riley. Thanks for that report. Any questions on that report? Doesn't look like it. If I'm missing you, please speak up. If no questions, Mr. Riley has proposed a series of actions to approve the 2040 Wayzata Comprehensive Plan. Is there a motion to approve?
Johnson moves.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Vento seconds.
Thank you, council members. Discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, Michelle, will you please call the roll on the motion?
Yes. Atlas Ingebrigtsen. Chambliss.
Aye.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Lilligren. Lindstrom.
Aye.
Aye.
Vento.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That passes unanimously. We'll move on to our next, thank you, Mr. Reddy. We'll move on to our next business item, which is 2020-93, another joint committees item. It's the 2040 Comprehensive Plan and Comprehensive Sewer Plan for the City of Deep Haven. And Mr. Riley, you're
Thank
on
you,
again,
Chair
please.
Lilligren, members of the committee. Oh, am I okay? Yes, okay. Thank you, Chair Lilligren, members of committee. It's Jake Riley again. I again want to thank the City of Deep Haven's staff for their work on this plan. They also were not able to sort of join us virtually today. And they also had some staff changes, so I really appreciate them working through that, navigating that with me as well. So before you today is the review of the City of Deep Haven's 2040 Comprehensive Plan. The regional systems map reflects Figure 1 of the staff report and identifies the location of regional system components within the City of Deep Haven. And of note are the Lake Minnetonka LRT Regional Trail, one lift station, and there's an MCES interceptor as well in the city. And there is a search corridor, a regional charter search corridor that sort of brushes past a far west corner of the city, and I wanted to make sure I pointed that out as well. The community designation for the city of Deep Haven is also suburban. Figure 2 in the staff report identifies that, and it's consistent with Thrive MST 2040. Deep Haven is also located in central Hennepin County and is surrounded by the communities of Wayzata, Woodland, Minnetonka, Shorewood, Greenwood, and Orono on the shores of Lake Minnetonka. Forecasts for the city of Deep Haven have also been adjusted based on 2018 estimate numbers. They're shown on table 1, also in your staff report, that show that between 2020 and 2040, the council forecasts the city's population will change over time, culminating with a net loss of 58 people, but a net gain of 20 households due to an expected increase in household size. There will be no net change of jobs in the same time frame. The planned residential density for the city of Deep Haven is looking at the period specifically from 2031 to 2040 using the revised MUSA guidelines. The overall density for guided residential land in that time frame is expected to be between 6 and 8 units per acre, which is consistent with communities with a suburban designation under Thrive, which are expected to plan for population and household growth at overall average densities of at least 5 units per acre for new development and redevelopment. And this development is expected to happen only in single family attached portions of the city from 2031 to 2040. The existing land uses you can see from the map on figure 3 in the staff report are primarily residential neighborhoods, accounting for 88% of the area's land use. Commercial development exists at 2 locations and constitutes slightly more than 1% of the land area, as shown in figure 3. The planned land use is virtually identical. It identifies the city as fully developed with limited land supply available for new construction and or redevelopment. Approximately 45 acres are identified as potential redevelopment between 2020 and 2030, with the majority of that being carried forward from the, in 2040, with the majority of that being carried forward from the 2030 plan. And between 2030 and 2040, the plan identifies 2.7 acres of land to be potentially developed for single-family attached homes for a density range of new residential development between 6 and 8 units per acre. So with that, the proposed findings for the City of Deep Haven's comprehensive plan are that the plan conforms to Metropolitan System plans, is consistent with council policies with the proposed changes, and compatible with the plans of adjacent local government units and affected jurisdictions. This item will also go before the Environment Committee on Tuesday, April 14th, and will be heard by the full council on Wednesday, April 22nd. Again, just reference again how helpful the city administrator and planning staff at the City of Deep Haven were. And your proposed action is to authorize the City of Deep Haven to place its 2040 comprehensive plan into effect, revise the city's forecasts for population, households, and employment as shown in Table 1 of the attached review record, revise the city's affordable housing need allocation for 2021 to 2030 to 5 units. That's based on the revision in the forecast. Strongly encourage the city to guide property at density sufficient to support the development of housing to meet its affordable housing need allocation. And advise the city that prior to final plan adoption, the plan must be revised to acknowledge the city's affordable housing allocation need. To be consistent with council housing policy, the plan should consider all widely available housing tools, including CDBG and home funds through Hennepin County and Hennepin County, I think it's Affordable Housing Investment Funds. Sorry about all the acronyms, and to implement the advisory comments in the review record for land use. And so with that, I'm also happy to answer any questions, especially about some of those advisory comments if need be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. I appreciate the report and your work on this. And please pass on thanks to the folks at Deep Haven and Wayzata who were so helpful and such good collaborators on this comprehensive planning efforts. Any questions or discussions discussion on that report? Thank you. Seeing a couple shakes of the heads, none. All right, seeing none, Mr. Riley has proposed a series of 5 actions to approve the City of Deep Haven's 2040 comprehensive plan. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Lee.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second by Wolf.
Thank you, Councilmember Wolf. Any discussion on the motion? Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, Michelle, please call the roll on the
Yes.
motion.
Atlas Engelbretson,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee, Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. And we'll move on to our next business item, 2020-91, a joint committees item. It's the 2040 Comprehensive Plan and Comprehensive Sewer Plan for the city of St. Anthony Village. And that will be Mr. Larson, Mike Larson presenting. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I am Michael Larson, a senior planner in the local planning assistance unit of the Community Development Division. Before you now is a review of the 2040 comprehensive plan for the city of St. Anthony Village. And before I proceed, I just want to ensure that my audio is okay for the listeners.
Sounds good, Mike.
All right, very good. So the first map you're looking at is the location of regional system components within St. Anthony Village. Regional park system elements include the Silverwood Special Recreation Feature, located in the northern part of the city. Regional trails located within St. Anthony Village include the Northeast Diagonal Regional Trail and the search corridors for the Grand Rounds Missing Link. There are no metropolitan highways located within the city's border, and all wastewater generated within the city is conveyed through 2 council interceptors and treated at the council's Metropolitan wastewater treatment plant in St. Paul. Figure 2 from the staff report identifies the city as urban, consistent with Thrive MSP 2040. As indicated in the map, portions of St. Anthony Village are in 2 counties. The larger southern portion is in Hennepin County, while the smaller northern portion is located in Ramsey County. Most of you may probably know that the geography of St. Anthony Village is what remained after Minneapolis annexed most of St. Anthony in 1872 for what is now Northeast Minneapolis. St. Anthony Village incorporated as a village in 1945. The city is surrounded by the communities of New Brighton, Roseville, Minneapolis, and Columbia Heights. The plan includes a revised household and population forecasts, which council staff recommend, and is based on recent trends and likely development opportunities in the city. The forecast revision will be approved by the council simultaneous with action on the plan. Table 1 shows that between 2020 and 2040, the council forecasts that the city will grow by 900 people, representing 500 households. There will be an increase of 200 jobs in the city in the same time frame. Table 4 from the staff report shown here illustrates planned residential density for the city. The overall density for guided residential land is expected to be between 19.1 and 35.5 units per acre. Communities with an urban designation under Thrive are expected to plan for forecasted population household growth at overall average minimum densities of 10 units per acre. St. Anthony's Village's plan is consistent with this policy. The city's existing land use map here refers to figure 3 of your staff report. Much of the city's higher density residential, commercial, and mixed use redevelopment has occurred north of 37th Avenue in the vicinity of the old Apache Plaza shopping center. If you advance one more, there'll be a circle. Thank you. Apache Plaza, incidentally, thank you. Apache Plaza, incidentally, was the state's second enclosed shopping center after Southdale. Approximately 43% of the city is residential. The next largest uses of land are park recreational at 16% and institutional at 13%. You may be interested to know that the city's stated mission is to, quote, to be a progressive and welcoming village that is walkable, sustainable, and safe, unquote. The city received an award for Steps 4 and 5 recognition in the Minnesota Green Steps Cities program at the League of Minnesota Cities annual conference last year. Shown before you on the screen now is the city's future land use map, which is figure 4 of the staff report. The city anticipates continued mixed-use redevelopment and intensification in the northern part of the city in areas that are guided as commercial, incidentally, which is a mixed-use district, with high-density residential uses in the southwest corner of the city. The proposed findings for you today are that the plan conforms to Metropolitan system plans, is consistent with council policies with the proposed forecast revisions, and is compatible with the plans of adjacent local governmental units in affected jurisdictions. On Tuesday, April 14th, Environmental Services staff will present to the Environment Committee, and this will be on the Metropolitan Council's agenda at the April 22nd meeting. The proposed action for you today is to authorize the City of St. Anthony Village to place its 2040 comprehensive plan into effect, to revise the city's forecast upward as shown in tables 1, 2, and 3 of the attached review record, to revise the city's affordable housing need for 2021 to 2030 to 152 units. And prior to final plan adoption, the city needs to update or revise the following items in the plan to acknowledge the services of Metro Mobility and to incorporate the local water management plan that the city recently adopted on June 11th, 2019. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Appreciate the report and the work on this. Any questions on that report? Any questions? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Larson has proposed 4 actions related to approving the City of St. Anthony Village 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Cummings.
So
Thank
moved.
you. Is there a second?
Second, Atlas Ingebrigtsen.
Thank you, council members. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Michelle, please call the roll on the motion.
Yes. Atlas Ingebrigtsen,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
That item is adopted unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Mike. We will move on to our next item, which is 2020-96, another committee's item. It's the 2040 Comprehensive Plan and Comprehensive Sewer Plan for the City of Roseville. And Mr. Wycheck will present. Eric, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Lilligren. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
My name is Eric Wycheck. I'm a sector representative for districts 2, 9, and 10 in local planning assistance within the Community Development Division of the Council. I'd like to let the committee know before we get going here that I'm pretty sure that Brian Lloyd, the senior planner for the City of Roseville, is on this call in the meeting. And if you had any particular questions, you could always either ask myself or ask him. But I wanted to offer a personal thank you to the city on this plan. They've worked really hard. I'll touch on this later on in the presentation, but they worked very hard over the last few years on doing some, I would say, like high level, like commendable planning efforts, especially when you look at what they've done in terms of working with their neighbors on their planning efforts.
Well, thanks, Mr. Wycheck, for passing that along, and our thanks to Brian for his work and for being on this meeting tonight.
So this map here is from Figure 1 within the staff report, and it identifies the location of regional system components within the City of Roseville. When it comes to transportation, there are three principal arterials that run through the city. One is I-35, which goes through the western portion of the city. Minnesota 36 runs through the center of the city from east to west. And Minnesota 280 just skirts that southwestern portion of the city. And the plan accurately reflects regional functional classification and identifies all the A minor relievers and roads of that type. In terms of transit, the plan shows the city's transit market areas, market area 3 and 2. And the plan also includes maps and discussion of and location of existing Metro Transit routes and park and ride facilities, as well as showing and displaying the A-line stations. In terms of regional parks and trails, Ramsey County is the park implementing agency for regional park system components in Roseville, for which the plan accurately describes the regional park system components. Regional trails located within the city include the Trout Brook Extension, Lexington Avenue Parkway, and St. Anthony Railroad Spur, all regional trail search corridors. In terms of wastewater, Metropolitan Council Environmental Services has 6 interceptors that run through the city and are and take effluent to the plant at the Metro plant. Next slide, thank you. Figure 2 of the staff report identifies the city as urban. Community designation consistent with Thrive MSP 2040. Roseville is located in west central Ramsey County. It is surrounded by the communities of New Brighton, Arden Hills, Shoreview, Little Canada, Maplewood, St. Paul, Falcon Heights, Lauderdale, Minneapolis, and St. Anthony. Table 1, also in your staff report, shows that between 2020 and 2040, the council forecasts that the city will grow by 700 people, representing 800 households. There will be an increase of 2,000 jobs in the city in the same time frame. This table represents a forecast revision requested by the city and approved by the council. And one of your actions pertains to this forecast revision. Table 2 from the staff report shown here illustrates the planned residential density in the urban area of the city. The overall density for guided residential land is expected to be between 10.52 dwelling units per acre and 30.90 units per acre. Communities within the urban designation under Thrive are expected to plan for forecasted population and household growth at overall average densities of at least 10 units per acre for new development and redevelopment. Roseville's plan is consistent with this policy. In terms of existing land use, this map comports with figure 3 in the staff report. The largest existing land use in Roseville is residential at about 50% of existing land use. In terms for commercial areas, we have about 5.8%, and most of that is the Rosedale Center, which some of you will be familiar with, in the northwest corner of Highway 36 in Snelling. And the city is also home to Harmar Mall, the location of the original Target store, and the Walmart development over at Twin Lakes. In terms of industrial and office uses, they make up about 12% of the city's area, and parkland makes up about 12% of the land area. The city's future land use map is from figure 4 of the staff report shown here. The city uses its 4 mixed-use categories along transportation corridors to expand business and residential opportunities, especially at Rosedale Shopping Center and the Twin Lakes area of the city. The plan includes a bus rapid transit overlay district within a half mile of the bus rapid transit stations of the A-line, requiring any residential development within the station area to be a minimum of at least 15 units per acre, and this complies with the density requirements within the transportation policy plan. Other things of note here within this map, if you can just go back to that map again. Thank you, sorry. This map also details potential redevelopment areas of the city, along with areas which require further study. One area of note that I would like to highlight is the Rice-Larpenter Gateway Area Vision, which is on the eastern portion of the city. The cities of Maplewood, Roseville, St. Paul, and the staff from Ramsey County, along with a citizens advisory group comprised of residents, property and business owners, and community advocates, created the Rice-Larpenter Vision Plan, which was approved by each of the cities and endorsed by Ramsey County in 2018. This is a really interesting plan because I think it really represents one of the best efforts around multi-jurisdictional transboundary planning. And I know that the city of Roseville has been very involved in this for years. The vision plan includes a strategy to manage future growth of the Rice-Larpenter Gateway area in a manner that improves connectivity and accessibility within the corridor and creates an attractive destination with strong businesses, vibrant neighborhoods, and beautiful places. Council staff finds that the plan conforms to Metropolitan system plans, is consistent with council policies with the proposed forecast revisions, and is compatible with the plans of adjacent local governmental units in affected jurisdictions. On Tuesday, April 14th, the Environmental Services staff will present to the Environment Committee, and this plan will be on the Metropolitan Council's agenda at the April 22nd meeting. And I just wanted to remind the committee that Brian Lloyd, the City of Roseville Senior Planner, is in this audience. Council staff recommend that the council authorizes the City of Roseville to place its 2040 comprehensive plan into effect, revises the city's population and employment forecast upward as shown in Table 1 of the attached review record, and advises the city to implement the advisory comments in the review record for transportation, forecasts, land use, and implementation. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. White. Any questions on, let me check. Looks like Councilmember Chambliss has been kind of on and off this meeting.
Online.
Cool, thank you.
I can see you, you just can't see me.
Okay, thanks. And you can hear us then, Reva, right? Cool.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Any questions on that report? Any questions? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Wycheck has proposed a series of 3 actions to approve the Roseville 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Is there a motion to approve, Councilmember Lindstrom?
Yes, I would like to make that motion, Mr. Chair, with the added comment of my congratulations as well to the entire staff and council.
Thank you, Councilmember. Is there a second?
Second by Lee.
Thank you, Councilmember Lee. And any discussion on the motion? Further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Michelle, please call the roll on the motion.
Yes. Atlas Ingebrigtsen,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
And my apologies for not seeing this sooner, but Councilmember Lee, did you want the floor to comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say that I was happy to hear about the commendation for the Rice-Larpenter partnership. I thought I've been following them on Facebook for 2 years, and it's good to hear that such a civically involved group can help beautify the area and make the area safer and better for all of us. So thanks for that comment.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thanks. And that motion is adopted. I think I said that. And so we'll move on to the 5th business item on our agenda. It's 2020-115. It is a City of Vadnais Heights office business to mixed use comprehensive plan amendment. And Mrs. Smiley, I believe you're on this meeting and you'll present.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Lilligren and council members. I'm Raya Smiley, Sector Representative for District 4 in Local Planning Assistance Group in the Community Development Division. I believe, or at least in the beginning, Nolan Wall, the Planning and Community Development Director of the City of Vadnais Heights, was in the audience. I saw his name, but so he was attending virtually, but I'm not quite sure if he's still on the line. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer that later on. So before you today is the review of the City of Vadnais Heights office business to mixed use comprehensive plan amendment. As shown in figure 1 of the staff report, Thrive MSB 2040 gives the City of Vadnais Heights a community designation of suburban. The area affected by the amendment is shown in red in the northern part of the city along the border with the city of North Oaks. Next slide, please. Thank you. And this is the figure 2 of your staff report. This map shows the regional systems in relation to the amendment site. The site is adjacent to Highway 96 Regional Trail, and the Vadnais Snail Lake Regional Park is about a quarter mile west of the property. As shown in figures 3 and 4 of the staff report, the amendment re-guides about 13.5 acres from office business to mixed use for a 160 to 180 unit apartment building and townhomes. The property is located in the southeast quadrant of County Highway 96 and McMenemy Street. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is table 1 from the staff report. It shows the planned residential density in the city. The amendment results in a slight increase in the overall density of the city. So the change in, as a result of this amendment is underlined in the table, and it results a overall density of 5.72 increase to 5.9 units per acre for the City of Vadnais Heights. And again, these are underlined in the table. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the staff finds that the proposed amendment conforms to regional system plans, is consistent with council policies, and is compatible with the plans of adjacent and affected jurisdictions. And the proposed action before you is that the Metropolitan Council adopt the attached review record and allow the City of Vadnais Heights to place the office business to mixed use comprehensive plan amendment into effect, and find that the amendment does not change the city's forecast, and advise the city to implement the advisory comments in the review record for regional parks and forecasts. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mrs. Smiley. Council members, any questions on that report? Any questions? Seeing and hearing none, Councilmember Bento, do you have a motion to approve?
Yes, I move approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Atlas Ingebretson.
Thank you, Councilmember. Discussion on that report. Discussion, I can't, Councilmember Bento, you were just raising your hand.
Oh, I was
That's
my hair.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's all right. Seeing no discussion, Michelle, please call the roll on the motion.
Yes. Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom, Maybe we lost Councilmember Lindstrom. Bento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
and I'll try one more time. Councilmember Lindstrom.
I guess we have lost him.
Yeah, maybe he had to step away.
Okay. Thank you. That item is adopted. Thank you. Council members, and we'll move to our next business item on the agenda, which is 2020-116. It's Egan Nichols Apartments Comprehensive Plan Amendment, and Patrick Boylan will present. Mr. Boylan, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Lilligren. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Hey, as you said, my name is Patrick Boylan. I'm the sector representative for districts 13, 14, 15, and 16. I work in local planning assistance. And like my colleagues earlier, looking forward to this amendment. I want to present that the Nichols Apartments Comprehensive Plan Amendment, which is located in the city of Egan. And I want to note today, listening in is Egan City Planner Sarah Thomas. I want to thank her for all of her work for the city of Egan, but also for her patience in working with us during the amendment process. The image before you right now is Figure 1. The city of Egan is surrounded by Mendota Heights, Sunfish Lake to the north, Indian Grove Heights to the east, Rosemount, Apple Valley to the south, Burnsville to the west, and the city of Bloomington is just across the Minnesota River in Hennepin County. Thrive MSP gives the city of Egan a community designation of suburban. Suburban communities are expected to develop at 5 units per acre. The 2040 comprehensive plan update that was reviewed and put into place by the city earlier last month shows an overall density of 6.29 units per acre. This is a residential amendment, so you'll see this raises the overall expectation for planned development from 6.29 to 6.6 units per acre. Next slide, please. Regional systems are shown here in context of the particular amendment, which is just off of Cedar Avenue in the western portion of the community. Interstate 35E is the dominant north southwest to northeast corridor. You can see Lebanon Hills and a planned regional trail. Just as an aerial photo shows this particular site, Diffley Road to the north, and then Nichols Road here as well. The proposed guide is it's an 8-acre site to re-guide from regional commercial to high density. These particular images I've included just to give some more context. The lower left-hand corner shows Cedar Avenue, and then the upper right-hand image shows the Diffley Road Bridge over Highway 77 or Cedar Avenue. And there's, you can see a couple of, it's hard to see, but you can see a couple of survey markers showing where the particular building will be. Next slide, please. Current land use for the site is RC, Regional Commercial. Next slide, please. And again, from the staff report, this showing the proposal by the city of Egan, which calls for HD or high density residential. The proposed project is for 204 affordable units. Next slide, please. The findings in your staff report that have developed show that proposed development conforms to regional system plans, is consistent with council policies except for natural resources, is compatible with the plans of adjacent and affected jurisdictions, and that the council authorizes the city of Egan to place its Nichols Apartments Comprehensive Plan amendment into effect, find that the amendment does not change the city's forecasts, and find the amendment is inconsistent with natural resources policy and Thrive MSP 2040. Next, please. The proposed action deals directly with that inconsistency. The first point is that the council strongly encourages the city to protect regionally significant ecological areas and minimize development impacts, work to conserve and protect the proposed development site's natural resources by implementing the city's regulatory tools, and to guide the proposed development to meet the city's own requirement of an execution of a detailed tree inventory, a tree preservation plan, and a tree mitigation plan at the time of development. Next slide, please. This item will appear before the full council on April 22nd. As I said before, Ms. Sarah Thomas, City Planner, is participating in this call, and that concludes my presentation. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, and thanks to Ms. Thomas for being on this call and for your work on this amendment. And are there any questions for Mr. Boylan or Ms. Thomas on that report? Questions? I'm not seeing or hearing any. So committee members, Mr. Boylan brings forward a series of proposed actions to approve this comprehensive plan amendment. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, Wolf moves approval.
Thank you, Council Member. Is there a second?
Chambliss seconds.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. I heard I didn't hear you. So thank you for the second. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Michelle, please call the roll on the motion.
Okay. Atlas Ingebrigtsen,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That motion is unanimously adopted. Welcome back, Councilmember Landstrom. We will move on to our final business item, number 7. It's 2020-117. It's a project change and term extension for the 510 Westlake Street Apartments. And Mr. I'm sorry, I forgot to pronounce it. Waderick, is that it? Joshua, is that you?
Waderick, that's correct.
Thank you. My apologies. I've been doing so well.
No problem.
Thank you for being here, and you'll present on this item, please.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. Is everybody able to hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm here to talk about the 510 West Lake Street Apartments project change amendment. Before I begin, a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Josiah Waderick, and I work with the CDMTS Finance and Admin Group. And I work with the Livable Communities grants, primarily on the post-awards side. So after we give the awards, then I step in and I do most of the administration and management of the awards from that point on. There are a couple people on the call that if you have additional questions that can help support me in getting you the answers that you're asking for. Steve Min, I believe, is on the line. He's the representative of the developer, Lupe Development. And Marcus Martin, I believe, is also on the line, and he can answer questions about the TBRA program and the scoring. So first, a bit on the amendment process in general. All of our grants are given on a competitive basis, and in order to maintain the fairness of the program, we request that grantees notify us of any changes that would have affected their original score. So once we learn about any changes, we review it for significant changes, what we term as significant changes. If we find any significant changes, then it's rescored according to the program-specific criteria. And then we present a recommendation to the CDC, and then the CDC needs to approve the amendment in order for them to keep the grant. Next slide, please. Thank you. So a bit of background, this is a $215,000 grant, TBRA cleanup grant to the city of Minneapolis. It supports the transport and disposal of contaminated soil and was given in the 2017 funding cycle. It was actually awarded in early 2018. We learned about the project change in February of this year, and there was a reduction in the number of affordable units, and that's what triggered the significant change for this project, and that's why we're here today. The slide that you see before you right now is the original proposal. So I just wanted to get you understanding a little bit of what the original proposal was before getting into the updated proposal. So in context, you'll see at the bottom of your screen is Lake Street. Harriet Avenue is towards the right of your screen. Garfield is to the left. If we kept going one more block off your screen to the left, you'd hit Lyndale Avenue. So this is right at Lynn Lake. The current use is an auto repair business, and the proposed project was to redevelop 128 affordable apartments. And just a quick observation here, you'll notice that the original proposal took up most of that block there and kind of spilled over the existing alley right in the center. Next slide, please. And this is the revised project. So I chose this slide because the orientation is similar from what you saw before. So again, we have Lake Street at the bottom and then Harriet and Garfield. But now we see that it is, the phasing has changed. So now the proposed project is part of a larger three-phase development. Phase 1 is to the right of your screen. That's currently underway, and that's 111 affordable units. And then the project as proposed was kind of broken up into two separate phases, and that's phase 2 and 3 there. Phase 2 is 131 market rate units with commercial. And then phase 3 is 95 units of affordable housing. That's a proposed future phase. And now I wanted to provide you with the overall context of the phases, but we're really focusing on phase 2 for the purposes of this amendment, because that's where the cleanup will occur. So as we thought about rescoring this, we really only used the specs for phase 2 and compared that to the original proposal. And as far as we were aware, there's no changes to the grant funded activities. Next slide, please. And just included an illustration here of what the three phases would look like based on the proposals that were given to us. Phase 2 is towards the right in the center there. And just to give you an idea again of how it will look at the end. Next slide, please. This is a summary of the components of the project that the primary components that were rescored. So we're primarily looking at jobs, net tax capacity increase, and affordable housing. So the jobs components, there wasn't a major change there. The net tax capacity increase, looking at phase 2 specifically, increased quite a bit. So this increased the score compared to the original project. And then looking at the housing, the conversion of the 128 affordable to the 0 affordable, or the 131 market rate in phase 2, that reduced the score compared to the original proposal. But all in all, when we add up how the final scores, the original one scored a 91 and the revised project scored an 84. And that is still within the range of projects that would have been funded when we look at that original grant. The lowest project that was funded there was a 75. So we would have been comfortable recommending this project for funding at that time. Which leads to the next slide. Our recommendation to you is that the Community Development Committee approve the project change and term extension for 510 West Lake Street Apartments, SG 09262, awarded to the City of Minneapolis, and to authorize its Community Development Division Director to execute the amendment on behalf of the Council. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wadrick, for the report and for your work on this. Thank you, Mr. Min, for being here on behalf of Lupe Development. And Mr. Martin, thanks for joining the meeting as well. Any questions on Mr. Wadrick's report? Any questions? I see. I do have one possibly for the developer, maybe for you, Mr. Wadrick, as well. And I didn't see it on the first renderings, but in the phased drawings of the approach. In phase one, it looks like there's a solar installation, Mr. Marin. Is that a fact? Is that an addition to the project, or was that always part of the plan, Mr. Mann?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, we try to put PV solar on each of our projects when we do affordable housing. Phase one has it, phase two will have it, and so will phase three.
Well, thank you. Thanks. Any further questions or discussion on the report? Seeing and hearing none, is there a motion to approve the staff recommendation?
Motion to approve by Chambliss.
Thank you, Councilmember. Is there a second?
Second by Lee.
Thank you, Councilmembers. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, Michelle, please call the roll on the motion.
Yes. Atlas Ingebrigtsen,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is adopted unanimously. Again, Mr. Min, thanks for joining us for the meeting.
Thank you for letting me join. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you. And committee members, that concludes our business items for today's agenda. We have one information item. It's the Parks and Trails Legacy Funding Work Group process update, and Mr. Mullen is here to present. Welcome, Mr. Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'm Emmett Mullen. I'm the Regional Parks Unit Manager. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, thanks for the opportunity to present on the Parks and Trails Legacy Funding Work Group this afternoon. I thought it would be helpful to begin in 2008 with the passage of the Clean Water, Land, and Legacy Act. This was in 2008 during a time of economic downturn, and the residents of Minnesota actually voted to increase their sales tax by 0.38%. The passage of the amendment created 4 distinct funds. The first two, the Clean Water Fund and the Outdoor Heritage Fund, are the largest of the legacy funds at 33%. The Cultural Heritage Fund, also known as the Arts and Cultural Fund, is funded at 19.75%. And the smallest part of the pie is the Parks and Trails Legacy Fund, and that's at 14.25%. Next slide, please. Here is the Parks and Trails Legacy Plan. The state legislature directed the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources to develop a 25-year long-range plan for Minnesota. And this was done over 18 months with significant public participation in coordination. So the DNR led it, but the Metropolitan Regional Park System and the County Regional Park Implementing Agency were active participants, as was the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails entity. So that was the 25-year plan. I'm going to keep moving to the next slide. This fund supports parks and trails of regional and state significance. And the allocation that comes to the Metropolitan Regional Park System, we, the Metropolitan Council, are the fiscal agent for this, and we pass 100% of the funding through to the 10 regional park implementing agencies. And the pie here is a sort of a graphic representation of the funding formula. 10% is taken off the top, and that goes to our Park Acquisition Opportunity Fund program. It's a first come, first served program that we manage for the 10 agencies. And then the other 3 variables are elements of the funding formula that include non-local visits, population, and the previous share of the operating expenses of this. So this 2012 funding agreement, I wanted to mention that when the legacy funding began, the first two biennia for the Parks and Trails Legacy Fund were very challenging at the state legislature. It was a contentious topic for how to divide the funding between the DNR, the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks, and the Metropolitan Regional Parks. So the 2011 state legislature passed a law establishing, I just saw that Council Member Atlas Engelbretson is having a hard time hearing me, so I will try to speak up. Is my volume okay?
This is Atlas Ingebretson. Emmett, it's kind of a little like wavery. Someone else I think said it sounds kind of a little muddy. So I don't know if you have maybe a microphone you could use, or maybe getting a little closer might help. But it's just sounding a little muddled at times. So some of the words aren't quite coming through.
Thank you, Councilmember Atlas Engelbretson. I will speak up and I will go closer to my microphone.
What you're doing right now is perfect.
It's better already, Emmett. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that feedback. The 2011 state legislature passed a law that said, let's create a funding work group that could make a consensus funding agreement on how to allocate the funds. And that agreement, that work group was put in place, and they actually came up with what's known as the 40-40-20 agreement. And they reached consensus and decided that 40% of state parks, 40% of the funding should go to state parks and trails, 40% should go to the Metro Regional Parks and Trails, and 20% should go to the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails. And this agreement has been in place for 4 biennia or 8 years, and it runs through 2022. Next slide, please. Okay, fast forward to the 2019 legislature. The state legislature passed an almost identical bill to that 2011 bill to establish a 9-person funding work group to develop a consensus recommendation for state fiscal year 2022 and 2023. And I think there's hope that it would possibly go beyond that 1 biennium. There are 3 representatives from each of the entities, so 3 from DNR, 3 from Greater Minnesota, and 3 from the Metropolitan Regional Park System. And they have been charged to consult with the Legacy Advisory Committee, which they have. And their charge is to develop a consensus recommendation by June 15th, 2020. Next slide, please. Here's the law. So I guess we'll keep going. And here are the 9 members of the 3 groups and the alternate. I'm just going to walk through this quickly. Our Metropolitan Council appointed Mary Merrill for the Metropolitan Regional Park System. She's the retired superintendent of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. John Gunyu, who's the current chair of the Three Rivers Park District Board. Mary Jo McGuire, who's a Ramsey County Commissioner, and she was a former state representative and state senator during those contentious early legacy years. Bo Carlson is the alternate for the Metropolitan Regional Park System. The Greater Minnesota Regional Parks Group has Rick Anderson. He's a Lyon County commissioner, as well as a commissioner with District 5 of the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission. Tim Ongrave is a commissioner in District 1, that's way up in the northeast Minnesota. Marcia Larson is the Bemidji, City of Bemidji Park Director. And Mike Nigber is the alternate, and he's the Rochester Park Director, and he also is on that Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources is also participating. Shannon Lotthammer is the Assistant Commissioner for Minnesota. Phil Leversage is the Deputy Director for Minnesota State Parks and Trails. Scott Kelling also worked for State Parks and Trails as the Northeastern Regional Manager. And then Melody Webb, who is in the Southwest region, is the alternate. Next slide, please. The Mediation Center, Amy Gourlay, is facilitating this negotiation. The 9-member work group has met 2 times in January and February. The most recent meeting of the work group was scheduled to be on March 27th, but it was canceled due to the pandemic. The April 24th is the next scheduled meeting, and that is still planned. I'll say that I'm working right now. I'm one of the 3 legacy liaisons. So the state park director is one. I'm one for the Metropolitan Council. And then Renee Matson is one for Greater Minnesota. And we're working to think through how we could continue this negotiation in an electronic format. The 3 teams have all said independently that they don't like the idea of moving the negotiation into this sort of electronic format. They really want to be present in person. Amy Gourlay thinks that we could hold the April meeting. Maybe she would meet independently with each of the 3 teams for one of the times. We're concerned about that June 15th deadline. We have informed the governor's office through the DNR legislative liaison that we're concerned that this could be hard. I don't think the governor or the state legislature will have an appetite to amend the legislation during the current time. So we're just staying tuned with the understanding that it's possible that we might be a little later on the funding recommendation than June 15th. So we're working hard on it. With that, Chair Lilligren and committee members, I will be happy to stand for questions.
Thank you, Emmett, for that report. Questions on that report? I'm sorry, I see Councilmember Atlas Singerman saying I have to take a call. An alarm just went off in my office. So Councilmember Vento, if I could pass the chair to you, please.
Sure. Any questions? Councilmember Atlas Ingebretson, did you have one?
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, for the life of me, I can't find the button that you push to raise your hand virtually, so I did it just the old-fashioned way. Thanks for acknowledging. Just, Emmett, could you share a little bit more about if there's issues that come from the group having concerns about continuing work in a remote context?
Yes, Chair Vento and Councilmember Atlas Ingebretson. The group has just independently expressed concern about the intensity of the negotiation, that it's really hard to sort of build trust and communicate directly when we are all in remote places. And so they've really expressed a desire to kind of wait and see. I mean, when we checked in with them sort of toward the later part of March and canceled the March meeting, I don't think we really knew the trajectory of when the pandemic would ease and people could get back together face to face. To me, the idea of coming back I think it's becoming clear that this shelter in place order is going to remain in place for a little while. So I think we're going to have to try to get creative. Does that answer your question, Council Member?
It does, Emmett, and I appreciate that. I hope that the group is able to deal with their concerns given the context that we're all in right now. And that they continue to follow the guidance we've all been given around flattening the curve, if you will. I also just thought I would share with the group really quickly that I don't know, Emmett, if this is kind of, I know this is an information item. I support this funding split the way it is currently. I think that it was developed with really good thoughtfulness and math, to be honest, around use, utilization, and geography. And in my time as the chair of the Parks and Trail Legacy Advisory Committee, this was put in place during my tenure in that role. It had, as mentioned, consensus support and understanding across the state. At that point, the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails group was not formed yet. But there are other factors that are putting pressure on this. And so I just want to give a word of encouragement and to also just raise awareness that local park funding has gone down in the metro area. It's gone down in Greater Minnesota. And because that funding has gone down or gone away, we're putting pressures on other funding sources that aren't meant for that. And I think that is part of what makes this conversation more difficult. And just want to encourage and provide support for continuing on the path that's laid out. And I hope we can get this done. With that, I'll yield.
Thank you, Councilmember Atlas Ingebrigtsen. Anyone else?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Peter here.
Is that? Councilmember Lindstrom, I think.
Thank you. I have a follow-up to that. I'm just wondering if, Emmett, if you could provide a 30,000-foot view on the funding as it currently stands, and hoping you can comment on that 40-40-20 split in terms of the future negotiations. Is there dissatisfaction with the current funding? I imagine there might be from certain parties, but could you elaborate on that a little bit? And are we coming into this saying, hey, we're satisfied with the current formula? Yeah, if you could just build off of that.
Thank you, Chair and Councilmember Lindstrom. First of all, Councilmember Atlas Ingebrigtsen, I'll pass on your support and encouragement to the members of this funding work group. Councilmember Lindstrom, it's funny, in the terms of consensus, I think there's begrudging support, or at least there was, for that 40-40-20 split. The reason we're back at the table is largely because the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission said that they wanted to open it up for conversations. I think they're interested in receiving a larger share than the 20% they're receiving. The status of the negotiations are that I don't think any side really wants to give any more of their funding. I think that that's something that sounds maybe obvious, but it's a really difficult conversation, because while there is better information on the three systems, Greater Minnesota DNR and Metro, particularly in the Greater Minnesota world, they have a little better system level information at this time. We don't have comparable visitation information for the three entities. So let me just, at that 30,000 foot level, say that I think there's a tremendous commitment to continue working together on this negotiation. I don't know how it's going to, what the outcome will be. It's my great hope that the three groups can come together. I can tell you from talking with our Metro team, Mary Merrill, John Gunyu, Commissioner Mary Jo McGuire, and Bo Carlson, is they are not interested in increasing the share of Greater Minnesota at the expense of the Metro Regional Park System. Our parks are, our greatest advantage and also our greatest challenge is that we have 60 million visitors a year in our system. Our parks are literally, being loved to death. And so keeping up with that is a tremendous challenge. And so the Legacy Fund has been a game changer for us, and the idea of reducing that amount, that proportionate amount, is a hard one for the Metro team to swallow. I'm trying to really paraphrase what I've heard them talk about rather than what I think. I'll end there.
Thanks, Emmett. I'm back. Thanks, you guys. I had an alarm going off at my building where I work. All's cool. Thanks, Councilmember Bento, for filling in. Further questions or discussions on that report? Yeah, Councilmember Atlas Ingebrigtsen.
I just chime in to say I totally agree with what Emmett shared, and I think that perspective has been in place really since the beginning, even prior to Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails group being formed. Under the pressures and the concerns were already known and there, and supplementing versus supplanting use of the legacy funds has been a major challenge throughout all of this. So I hope that we can move the needle on that at some point in the future. But I think that all of what Emmett shared is really where the pressure points are on this issue, and a challenge because of the lack of other funding sources being there.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any further discussion on this report? Councilmember Johnson, are you about to?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. My question is, again, and maybe this was covered, but Emmett, is it a consensus they are negotiating? They've got somebody helping them work through that, or will it be a vote at the end? I mean, it's a 9-member group, so does it come down eventually to a vote of that group, and then that sits there until it's ratified by the legislature? Could you just quickly go through that process again for me?
Yes, Chair Lilligren, Councilmember Johnson. The way the legislation reads is a consensus recommendation, and that doesn't have to be agreement, but it does have to be begrudging support. So a willingness to go along with the recommended allocation. The real motivator here is, in the event that the work group is not able to come up with a recommendation, they will be turning that recommendation back over to the legislature. And so I think that the legislature has put them, in the driver's seat in terms of coming up with a recommendation that the entities can live with. If they're not able to do it, the legislature will.
Chair, one quick follow-up.
please.
Thank you, Emmett. And then I know the group must be working then with the projections that they have for the funding under the current scenarios. And given probably reduced funds, as was stated earlier, everybody's got a capital improvement plan. So if a change would come and say funding would be reduced to our jurisdiction, how much time do the parks agencies in Mount Temple have to react to that?
Councilmember Johnson, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. Our finance leaders are working with Minnesota Management and Budget right now to understand the impacts on all of our funding. As I said earlier, Parks and Trails legacy is derived through the sales tax. And so with restaurants closed and bars and other commerce, it appears there will be a downturn. And so I don't know the answer, but I think you have an excellent question. And as soon as we learn anything, we will be sharing that information out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Emmett.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thanks, Emmett. Further discussion on that report? Lenny, I think you're unmuted. We can hear thank you, your background noise. Further discussion? Seeing none, thanks, Emmett, for your work. Thanks for the report. Keep us posted. It's funny to hear the questions council members were asking, because those were all exactly the questions I asked when I was briefed on this agenda. So great minds.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just going to give a chance for Lisa or for Michelle or for anyone to weigh in here before we adjourn.
Mr. Chair, council members.
Yeah, is that Lisa? Is that you?
Yep, this is Lisa Barajas. I just wanted to say hello to all of you, and it's good to see you all virtually. Our staff are working hard transitioning to virtual environments, and this was our first go with a virtual meeting, so I really appreciate your patience with us, and thank you for your understanding if there are any glitches along the way, but I think our staff did a great job today.
Hear, hear, Lisa. Thanks to you, thanks to the staff, the whole team, not just for making this meeting run well, which good job, good work, everyone, but for just keeping things going in this very unusual time. And I'm just so impressed with the dedication of our staff and of everyone, and to the staff, to all of to my colleagues, good health, all the best to you and yours in this difficult time. If you need anything, or reach out. Even if it's just a little connection. Anything else from committee members? No? All right. Seeing no business before this committee, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Lilligren.
Thank you, Chair.